get the right foundation in place and start building on top of that. So what we want to do is try to make sure that this year we get the remaining items, that need to be replaced, switches, access points, things like that, swapped out so that you finally have everything at the right standards. So anything new we bring in, like whether it's additional, camera software, or not camera software, but cameras and bandwidth, that everything can work the way that it should. One thing that, just to kind of highlight from the technology plan that is not in there, is originally in year 2 is we had talked about doing some phone system upgrades. That has been pushed off from this year probably to a later year, because you can survive with your existing phone system, and so we could then focus on additional improvements with the camera systems.
Is that cell phones or is that
No,
landlines?
Void phone system.
Okay.
The big item that got cut that we still need, that we keep kicking the can on, is the fiber optic loop.
Yeah, that was
Because what we're doing is we're putting these cameras in on Comcast network and we're customizing it as we go. But the real solution is to have a fiber optic loop for this data to transfer back around. We're basically trying to build something and ride a highway that's not there yet.
Yeah.
And that's where you'll see in the budget also some increases coming on, for example, carrier services. I don't remember the exact line item name on it, but because obviously we have 6 Comcast connections that we put in this year to accommodate more cameras. You have to do 6 more, and so that just is a cost that does start adding up. But you have to have some way to get the data obviously back so that the police can get the footage off the cameras and have that going 24/7.
So I sent an email, I don't know, a week ago about using Nest cams.
Right.
Or some kind of other camera, and you responded back.
I did respond.
And Chief did too, and William. I think that would be a good, so like what Chief said, a good Band-Aid fix. I know you have to have Wi-Fi, but we're getting ready to have Wi-Fi downtown. So if we could use, I know it's not the highest resolution, it's not the best, but once again, if we can get something in place and at least have the footage and still have cameras, but use that money to go back and get another license plate reader or something like that. Because you know what, right now, it's all about safety right now. And if we can use Nest Cam, I know they're not the best, but even if we put them inside City Hall, we put them downtown, you just plug them in, connect them to the Wi-Fi.
Well, and the proposal I gave you was, they weren't Nest, but similar to it, and those could actually be outdoor. I think the biggest things on that were Wi-Fi is needed for that. Resolution, of course, is not going to be as great. And then probably the biggest issue, and I'm not saying don't do it. I'm just saying these are the pros and cons.
Right.
Is that it would not be integrated into the existing software system you have. So so
City Hall, we can put in, well, you got fiber running from City Hall here, so.
Right.
Put in
But what I'm
City
saying, like,
Hall.
all those, like Nest and all those similar type providers, they have their own proprietary network, so it's not like they're sharing, they won't share, for example, the Genetec system. So you'd have basically 2 networks. You could have the cameras footage, but it's not going to feed back into the other main system that the police have on it. That would be the only downside. Now,
That would be one of the downsides. And also, I wouldn't gloss over the resolution thing, right? The resolution's not that great. But when it comes to lower resolution compared to facial recognition and being able to tell, is that person, when you lose resolution, you lose identifying characteristics that, defeat the purpose of having it to begin with, right?
Yeah.
I agree. That there's motion on the street is not an indication, but being able to see that it was a person on the street wearing a blue jean jacket, right? The resolution makes a big difference when it comes to that sort of a thing.
Well, a 2 or 3 megapixel camera at a fixed location like at City Hall is gonna be next to nothing price-wise.
One other thing, Josh, I think you're raising a very critical issue here, and we're going to continue to work on this and bring back some even further iterations. But we're talking right now to the CID network. And we're also going to be partnering with folks at Main Street and other programs, downtown businesses, and wherever we can get the partnership. For example, I've been talking to PG Parking. They can orient their cameras in ways to complement our network. So what we're going to do is we're going to, in addition to what you're saying, we're also going to be reaching out to these other mechanisms and see if we can bring the power of other partners in and other businesses in to augment what we're already putting in place.
The city of Atlanta has something like that, where city of Atlanta has, I don't know. And
Thousands of cameras.
Yeah, and other municipalities are jumping onto their system.
But you have to be careful with that because you're dealing with cameras that are on private property. You have to mask things because I can't.
No, I'm not.
I'm just saying that if we partner with other people's camera systems, we have to be careful how we handle the video that comes out.
Correct.
No, I'm not saying that it's private property, it's
Right.
public. Like, the city of Atlanta's put up 1,000 cameras and, you know, now I think some other areas, I think Brookhaven is now getting onto their network. So the city of Brookhaven is putting up cameras that interconnect with city of Atlanta's database.
Well, and that's actually one of the reasons we suggested the provider of services for that Genentech, for your camera solutions, because City of Atlanta is using them, and when we met with Genentech, basically they're working to build that relationship so that Hapeville then can share the data, and vice versa. Atlanta will share their data with Hapeville. So once the systems get up and running, there should be data sharing occurring between Atlanta and Hapeville, and I think Fulton
And
County as
again,
well.
not to
Okay.
beat a dead horse, but that's why the power of this fiber optic loop is important.
Yeah, but how much is
If
that
you're
fiber
moving-
optic loop?
It costs a lot of money, but if you're moving a large amount of data around, you have to have a highway for it to travel on, and that's the power of why we keep pursuing that idea in some form or fashion.
Well, my thing about the fiber optic loop is like, is it cheaper just to rent space on Comcast, which is
For
what
now.
we're
You
doing
just don't
now?
have bandwidth, that's the problem.
For now it is, but you're gonna reach a certain bandwidth.
There's a
cap.
break-even point. I mean,
Yeah.
like any kind of capital
Yeah, we
investment.
gotta figure out where that is.
Right.
See, Comcast, if you have fiber, you have constant bandwidth. Comcast, they tell you they don't, but I deal with this every day. They throttle.
Throttle you.
When you start sending video, they throttle. You can watch the internet speed, because on my clients, I got a lot of clients that have that. And as soon as you start video, the speed just drops.
Right, and then the other thing to keep in mind is when you're using Comcast, or any carrier for that matter, if they're providing the fiber to you, whether AT&T was in here providing it, there's gonna be a cost in perpetuity. You're gonna be paying that
Right.
forever. Where that, at some point in time, of course, you're gonna have, the fiber, your own internal fiber system is gonna pay for itself over time. And you're gonna have, if you calculate your costs, what, we get up to, 20 camera connections, $200 a month, just even
It
running
starts
it.
to
Yeah,
have
Yeah.
a cost return.
so that's,
Yeah, we just gotta figure out where that is.
exactly.
On the static cameras, you made the point of somebody leaving town that by the time the information gets back, they're gone. I understand that. What if they're coming into town and it reads somebody? What is the time lag from it reading and getting to dispatch and getting to a police officer? How quick does it work?
Pretty instantaneous. I mean, it basically, as soon as the license plate is captured, sends the data back into the system. I mean, it's live footage that's coming in there.
Dispatch sitting there
So if
watching.
it gets ahead, it comes
So
up.
from the camera to the officer in the car, what do you think would be?
Could be a minute, could be less than a minute.
Well, a lot depends upon what your officers are working on at a particular time when the call comes in.
And the
Where are they?
communications officer, the dispatcher.
Yeah, how busy the dispatcher is.
Okay. All right, so I think LPR is the theme of the night, so
Yes.
let's.
And we heard that very
Yeah,
clearly.
keep the LPR,
We'll
keep the
bring you back the
LPR.
plan.
Keep the LPR on the list, maybe on a mobile side.
And I think that, within the existing proposed capital budget there, we should be able to work so we can at least get something in there.
Okay.
Y'all cool? You good with that?
Yeah.
Okay, TAP funds. Let me just, before I go there, again, just remember the three buckets. The bucket A is the DMO marketing organization. Bucket B is the funds for the purpose of operating, maintaining, and improving the facilities such as Hoyt Smith Conference Center. And bucket C is the general fund bucket. So, again, this is one of those funds that, with any luck, will continue to grow. So far, we've seen pretty good growth in it. Basically, this is the proposal. It's divided up in the DMO. RFP has been put out there. It's been ranked. We're in negotiations. The contract will come back in the June 20 timeframe. That process is going very, very well. We feel confident that we can have the contract in place. Once that contract's awarded by council, there'll be $400,000 approximately transferred instantly to the DMO, and then there will be a monthly collection of the revenues as they flow through the city and paid into the DMO, and that's all going to be part of that contract. So the bucket B is the cost for facilities. Those things I'm going to leave to Tim to kind of address, and Todd. They've worked on that budget, but again, it's been legally vetted, and everything that is in the budget in front of you, we feel 100% confident, is appropriate. Bucket C is the funds that flow to the general fund, as they always have. So this is kind of like a general breakdown. There's about $814,000 in the bucket B. The DMO bucket A is $1.2 million, and then the balance would be into the general fund.
I don't see any bucket thing listed on here. So when you're talking about bucket A, bucket B.
Bucket A would be,
Okay,
Goes
so I
on
was
the front
looking at
page.
that.
You back up.
Right, I
Is
see that.
DMO.
I got that, but how does that transfer onto these?
So the 814 would be bucket B.
Correct.
Where's 814? Let me see.
Conference facilities.
Facilities.
Bucket
814.
C,
Hold on,
bucket,
let me find 814.
At the top.
exhibit 22.
Page 52.
None of mine numbered. Oh, sorry. Okay.
They're numbered.
Look at your new packet, that's.
Package that the council has.
What, page 52?
Yeah.
This was an early version that went out on Friday, and staff has perfected the presentation, and the council has a number of pages.
Okay. So conference facilities, you're calling that bucket?
That'd be bucket B.
Bucket B.
Okay.
And then bucket A would be the 1.2.
Right, DMO.
DMO, okay.
And
The
C
balance
would be,
is to the general fund, bucket C.
It's in the general fund.
Good job.
okay,
So it goes to the general fund.
that's all.
This get run by DCA?
It was run by the legal team, and they feel
I'm not talking
confident.
about our lawyers, I'm talking
I
about
did not go
DCA.
back to DCA and say, no, may I?
We're following their recommendations.
May I followed the legal direction, and everything is in compliance with the DCA directive.
Okay, I just wanted to know if you had talked to them, because, it was my understanding that these funds were to be totally in separate,
They are.
account.
Yes, they are.
Well, and I'm looking at stuff like the maintenance for the for the conference center, and the staffing for the conference center, and so those
That's an
people no
allowance.
longer work for the city, they will only work for the DMO.
They work for the city, but that is an allowable cost.
I don't, well, that's why I think it'd be great to talk to DCA, that, because they are ultimately the ones that decide, and I've found them to be very approachable and, just ready to answer questions. So I guess I'll be glad to ask the question. I'll call them tomorrow or something and say, this is what we've got, this is what you guys are looking for. I mean, it's just a phone call, and I just think that is pound of caution, or ounce of caution, pound of, preparedness. I just don't think, I think we have so much to lose if we do it wrong. Like the ability to lose the whole 7%.
And I don't think we're doing it wrong. I mean,
Well,
we're following the
I think
recommendations.
we could ask to be sure and have them say, yeah, this looks great, you're doing a great job.
Mr. Mayor, the group that filed the complaint is here. They have their opinion. I listen to the legal team, I listen to this council. At the end of the day.
Council's will that we reach out to
council's will
DCA,
that we
we'll reach
go
out
to
to
DCA, we'll go to DCA. I do not listen to anyone other than my legal team and the council.
Well, I would like, I don't know if we need a
Order,
consensus.
please.
If we would please contact DCA to see if this fits with the parameters that they're looking for. You know, I won't get into name calling, but I believe our legal team got us into this situation, so that's
No,
why.
our legal team did not get us into this situation.
Are they the ones that said for the last 7 years,
Murray
yes, go ahead and do
Murray
this?
Lee created this, it was approved. Paul Coster approved our budget every year. This city council voted on the last 3 budgets that included that.
On the advice of
So I
our
don't want,
legal team.
on the advice of the then legal team. Steve Fincher had already had some conversations with William before the complaint got filed, said, I don't like the way this is looking. They were in the process of making those adjustments. The
Right.
complaint got filed and everything's totally changed. I'm not going to sit here and allow you to blame our current legal team for this. It's not their fault. They did not structure it. It was structured by Murray Lee. I was on city council. Laura Murphy was on city
No, I
council.
was not.
And I beg your
was not.
pardon. You weren't on city
I
council?
was not on city
Well,
council.
Susan was on city council, I believe. But during that period of time, the councils approved the budgets year after year based upon the recommendations established by Murray Lee. And the previous lawyers followed those recommendations.
Well, and
Paul Coster.
I would say to that, and we're not gonna beat a dead horse, but the old adage, well, we've always done it that way, it seems to me we're paying enough
we're
for
not-
legal
we're-
fees
and we're
that
not
we
doing
should
it
have
that
some people who go in every year and say, you know, be it the legal team, be it the finance team, be it whatever team, and say, you know, this is what I see as far as what DCA, what the rule is, and yeah, you got by with it for 5 years, but this is what we need to do now. And that's why I said we have a lot to lose, and that's why, to me, it would be imperative to check with them.
Is the council's desire to contact DCA?
What are the
To-
pros
to
and
defend
cons
this?
of contacting DCA?
I don't see that there's any con to
I
it.
don't see there's any con either. I think they're very
William?
approachable.
I don't
Pros
have any
and
problem
cons?
with that.
I gotta make an informed decision,
Well,
but like, making a decision like that on just not knowing all the sides, I wanna know like, what are the pros, what are the cons of this decision that we might make in the spur of a moment?
We have followed every recommendation that DCA,
Right.
the DMO being the main situation. And the issue that they had with the Hoyt Smith Center was it wasn't being properly marketed. They stated very plainly in their letter that it could be used if properly marketed. And so we've blended those costs based upon staff's recommendation and legal's approval that that's okay with DCA's request.
So the con of, I'm just trying to restate what you just said. So the con of going to DCA is just saying that we think we did it well enough, we don't need to go to DCA?
I'm not saying that.
I don't know.
If it's council's desire to go to DCA, we'll go to DCA.
But if no one can give me a con to go against it, why not, William?
I don't have a problem with it. I'm just
Okay.
telling you, okay, if I may, I'm just telling you that on the advice of our legal team, we have thoroughly vetted this budget, and we feel very confident that it complies 100% with the DCA directive.
And I believe it does too. And, you know, I think that it does too. And I trust, I have to trust you and legal team and staff. But if we can get the blessing of DCA with no real con behind it, I don't see why we wouldn't. Michael?
Yeah, I feel the same way. I don't think there's a cost in asking them, right?
There's only a cost to the extent that perhaps the legal team would need to be involved in that conversation.
Why don't we set up a meeting, William, and I'll go myself. How about that?
Sounds good to
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah, set it up, because if they can review it and make sure everything's right, then our budget's solid. But if
Yeah,
it's
we get the
not, then
blessing.
let's fix
Ahead
it
of time,
before,
right.
if we can.
And I would like it painted with the air of caution instead of the air of suspicion. You know?
Well, I'm all for it.
I mean,
I just
because
want,
well, yeah, but Diane, you kept referring to our attorneys got us in this. Previous attorneys got us in this.
Right.
And
Attorneys and city
previous
attorneys.
councils voted on those budgets
Uh-huh.
year after year after
Right.
year with those recommendations. And so this idea that we're trying to hide something or we intentionally did something wrong, I will remind everyone that the DCA's report. Got a question, Mickey? You're sitting there shaking your head while I'm talking. Okay. The DCA's report, pardon me?
Is it time for questions?
No, no ma'am.
Okay, sorry.
The DCA's reports clearly stated that Hateful did nothing intentionally wrong.
Not intentional, but it was wrong.
Well, we know that, that's
The
no
policy
policy.
Yeah.
shifted and changed.
Right. And this is going to be a difficult transition year because
Yeah.
we are
Big bunch of
transitioning
money.
buckets of money around.
And our team inherited this, right, wrong, or indifferent, blame who you will.
That's true, it was here when William got here.
Well, if we get this
I am
set in the
trying to
right
move it
places,
forward.
going
And the-
forward, we'll be in much
Yeah.
better shape.
And the guy that's been here the whole time is me, okay? So if y'all need a scapegoat, I'm your man.
I don't think we're looking for scapegoat, I think we're looking
Yeah, I
for,
think we are.
well, I'm not, I'm looking for, I'm saying that the councils for those 7 years went on advice of whoever the city advisor attorney was, and when Murray set it up at that time in 2007, nah, that's okay, let's go with that.
Yep.
And as I understand DCA, they do not check anything unless there is a complaint. So consequently, we never were told we were doing anything wrong. And so, but in my mind, I think that's part of what you pay attorneys, city managers, finance people, is to be preemptive and say, well, this worked for, the last 6 years, maybe we ought to look and see what we're submitting. And it sounds like you were in the process of doing that, but
I was.
that's why I think this is a great chance to prove to DCA that we take what we appreciate that they didn't fine us anything, and we just want to make sure that we got it just like they want it.
I'll be more than happy to meet with the
Yeah, if we're under the
Yeah.
microscope, let's just get
That's
it
better.
all right.
I think when we look back in history, we all look really bad. Because, you only remember those really shitty moments you had, and those mistakes that you had. But I think that when we look back on our 10 years council, we're going to have mistakes, We all have mistakes, we're going to have them. And I think we can't dwell on the past. We have to look towards the future, and I think the future is very bright. And I was in a meeting yesterday, and I was talking with the city, and I was talking about, what do we think about this GMO? Is this a bitter thing to swallow, but is it going to be better for the city? And it was a unanimous yes. It is a bitter pill for us to swallow. It's hard, there's hurt feelings, but I think with people out there supporting the city and putting advertising out there, it's, in the long run, it's going to be better for the city.
Oh, I thought you were going with the other way. I would say it's just the best thing ever that we get all of this to focus on promoting our city.
It is.
Yeah, so I would say it's not a bitter pill, I'd say it's great, but that's just.
But no, it's a
The
bitter.
budget transition is a.
Budget
This is a bitter pill, right here, what we're having to do right here is a bitter pill to swallow. It's a lot of money, it's a lot of changes, it's a lot of cuts.
Right.
And it's a lot of stuff that I would want to see that we can't do. But in the long run, in the future, I think it's the best thing.
Yeah,
But I don't want us to dwell on the past.
I don't either.
This has happened, we are where we are, and we need to look towards the future and stop looking in the rearview mirror.
I agree.
Thank you
All
for
right.
that.
All right.
All right. This is the legal budget. Of course, they handle all our legal matters, all our litigation. All of the detailed invoices are submitted, all the information is included in the transmittal letter. The city attorney periodically meets with me and also the staff to vet legal issues, and basically I continue to meet with them on a quarterly basis. There is a revenue money team, if you will, that Fincher Denmark has helped us staff. This is his take on what he has brought in. There's a certain portion of the legal budget that is paid out in fees because of that contract, but the net revs coming in exceed the amount that we pay. So basically, that's a quick overview. The actual legal budget itself is divided up into numerous things. For a small city, I will tell you, my day is totally unpredictable. I might be talking about an EEOC claim, and then the next thing, I'm turning around looking at a zoning matter or a contract dispute or some sort of issue like that. So it's all over the board. There are complicated issues that come up. Our legal team takes care of these things. And basically, this is kind of a breakdown of that budget. The legal budget has been reduced in the future budget, and I'm going to get to some of those things. Here are some of the key aspects that the budget is built on. The budget is built on a number of assumptions. First of all, right now, we don't have our tax digest. We depend on Fulton County. They run that railroad. I can't make them go any faster, can't do anything about it, but we're continuing to communicate and work with them as closely as possible. As soon as we get the tax digest, we'll know where we sit. Right now, we just projected a pretty flat tax in the budget as a placeholder. If we do better, then that helps us. Maybe we'll have a few extra dollars to come back and make some decisions, but right now we see it as pretty flat year. There was a transfer from the water and sewer fund last year. The transfer was $350. This year we're planning $330. So that's pretty revenue neutral. We will again believe that we will see continued growth in hotel motel tax revenues. One of the saving graces this year, and I have to give a shout out to the Development Authority. They're working hard, they're doing a great job. They sold several pieces of property, and so their bank account, has some cash in it, and according to the bond covenants, they need to step in and make those bond payments because the bond proceeds that was used to buy the property that they sold, has a sinking fund, and they have to fund those things. So that helped relieve the general fund that had been toting that water and toting that note and paying that, so that helps us out. The legal bills have been cut. I've lowered the legal budget. Now that assumes, and this is one of the house of cards here, that there are no further legal challenges. Last year we had a lot of litigation costs, a lot of costs involved in defending ourselves through various administrative proceedings, those kinds of things. So those are one of the things I'm hoping that is lower. If it is, we're good. If not, then the city will have to defend itself and we will have to raise legal budget back up. It's just the way it works. The last assumption in the budget that's built in is that we're going to have tighter operating expenses. And of course, we are asking the council to consider, because we see ourselves on the precipice of a new building boom, is it now time, since we haven't adjusted building fees in 6 or 7 years, now since we see a wave coming, is it time for us to have that conversation about maybe inching up, not being uncompetitive with our surrounding sister cities, but at least considering improvements there so that we can catch some of those new revenues that are flowing in.
So can we go back 1 second?
Yes, sir.
My microphone's off. For the lowering of the legal bills, what percentage do we decrease the amount budgeted?
It was over 50 grand. What, do y'all know the percentage?
That's probably 15 or 15.
10 to 15%.
Okay. Okay.
And if I may go back to legal also, on the revenue enhancements, I see, and that may have been a graph, there's not a blue dot on this, but what I need to get to foot it back is I see that the net revenue, and I'm assuming that's part of the town money, correct?
Yes.
Can I go to a general ledger account and see where that's up $500,000? Or several general ledger accounts? I mean, is it property tax, is it commercial
A
property
lot of
tax?
it's probably going to be in the personal property tax.
It's a mixture of things, but Tim can kind of walk you through that. Tim, you want to?
It would be in personal property, real property tax. It would be in public utility tax. It would several year, prior year taxes. But we do have all the dollars, in specific accounts, and we can show that.
Okay, because I'm thinking, so those are showing up as prior year income, so that if I look on a real property now and say last year's amount was, 12 million, or say maybe 5 million, and this year maybe it's 5,200,000, because we have this enhanced revenue that's now is part of that, assuming zero growth, just year over year, but only due to the fact of this revenue enhancement found money.
It would be perpetual growth, not zero growth.
Yeah, there's two
Right.
pieces to it, Diane. One is the payments, because the law allows you to go back for 3 years.
3 years.
So there's one piece of it. The second piece of it is the fact that if it hits the tax digest, then we pick that up from now on. So there's an ongoing revenue generation element of it, and then there's the one-time bump
Right.
that comes from the 3 years
And
that the
the
law
one time is
allows you
this
to go back.
565, or this 535 net revenue? That was on this?
That's their net revenue since they've started the revenue enhancement, I believe.
That's from the time they started.
Okay.
Yeah, that goes back to.
So that will cross over more than just this budget
Okay,
year.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, 'cause that's the thing to me, and I'll probably get with you and Jim, and so that I can see where things are being put into, whether it's licensing or whatever it is. That's the thing to me that I can see, okay, well, that does look larger than it was in the previous years.
Yep, and
I'll
some
get
of
touch
it's
with you.
one time and some of it's
Right.
ongoing.
Right, I
So
really like
it's
the
hard
ongoing
to
part.
nail down.
So,
Yeah,
like Colonial Pipeline, you've got fuel tax on the
Uh-huh.
fuel over the airport, you've got the
Delta has a,
Delta personal property tax
FedEx
there,
building.
the equipment that's parked over there, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
yeah.
So we're budgeting for law is $430,000, is that correct?
Yes.
So that's over a 50% reduction in his salary. That's budgeted, right? Am I reading that correct?
It's a 20% reduction in the total payments we're expecting to venture Denmark. And I say that very specifically because the legal portion, just their legal portion, is a reduction of $55,000. The reduction of $45,000 is a planned reduction, basically in the commissions, because that's the way it was contractually set up.
In other words, they get a lower percentage as it's shining.
Yeah. Because I see that we paid him $778,000 to date.
Well, we paid them $750, the other 20 is a different one. We paid Venture Denmark $750.
And then projected year to date is 140. Am I reading that right?
What page are you on?
I'm on page 10 of the line item.
He's looking at the line item.
So that column is not, ignore that column.
Okay, I was gonna say, I don't know where that came from, because we don't have any.
That column,
personnel.
that's an info column, we don't.
Okay, so basically,
So-
it's not 919,000